Hey, Lower School. Mrs. Lightful here with one last chapel for the year. I'm in one of my favorite places, my son and daughter-in-law and my two children's backyard. They have a really cute little woods, and I am a woods person, so I love to spend time out here. And I have a story that I would like to tell you today called The Lumberjack. So I thought this would be the perfect place to tell it because I'm in front of his woodpile. So listen carefully to this story, and then I have some questions for you to think about as you look ahead to summer vacation. Okay? The Lumberjack. In a small town far in the north, they would have a week-long festival, and at the very end, the grand finale was a lumberjack competition. The winner's trophy was awarded to the lumberjack with the largest pile of fallen timbers after 24 hours of continuous effort. Jacob was one of the contestants. Jacob trained for months. He wanted to win. Jacob was a faithful, hard-working, and determined man. Carl was the other contestant. He was also committed to winning the contest, but Carl chose not to engage in any extra training. He just continued to do his job as a lumberjack. When the bell rang that morning for the competition, there were hard-hitting cracks thundering through the town as both men began swinging their axes in the frosty fall air. After the first hour of competition, it was pretty obvious who was going to win. Jacob's training was paying off. Not only was his pile higher after the first 50 minutes, but Carl sat down. He rested on the stump of a tree for the last 10 minutes of that hour. Soon the difference between the piles grew even larger. As every hour, Carl sat down for the last 10 minutes. Jacob was beaming inside and out. His victory was a piece of cake. The trophy and the championship would be his. But approaching the 10th hour of the competition, the two piles of timber began to equalize. Jacob eyed the piles carefully, and he stepped up his efforts. 15 hours into the competition, the tide was turning. Carl's pile was higher than Jacob's. Frustrated and weary, Jacob moved into high gear. Sweat poured from his body, and he never stopped. But Carl's strategy was the same. He would work for 50 minutes of the hour, and then he would sit for 10 minutes of rest. When the contest ended the next day with the ringing of the courthouse bell, Carl's pile of timber was more than twice as high as Jacob's. Jacob shook his head as he went to congratulate Carl's effort. "My friend," he said, "how did you do this? I trained for this event for months. I worked so hard, and I feel like in the last 24 hours, I worked harder than you did. How is it that you are the winner today?" Carl replied, "It's simple, my friend. Every time I sat down, I sharpened my axe." Now, in kindergarten, a lot of times I would say to the kids, when they were working with the colored pencil that was dull, or they had an eraser that they had poked a bunch of times with the pencil so it was all full of holes and full of lead, I would say, you are only as good as your tools, and you need to take care of your tools. So the tool the lumberjacks used, they were their axes. And the most dangerous saw or axe is an unsharpened one. Not the sharp ones, an unsharpened one. Because it's unpredictable and you have to use more effort to make it work. So if you are a lumberjack or a carpenter, you want your tools sharp and ready to use. So there is a famous guy who started using the phrase sharpen your axe in his classes on using your time wisely and using your life wisely and making sure you were living for the right reasons. And he called taking care of yourself sharpening your axe. And he talked about things like eating healthy food, getting plenty of sleep, and just making sure that you were doing what was good for you and your body and your mind. That became called sharpening your axe. So this summer, I want you to think about a certain part of sharpening your axe. There is a thing called restoration. And restoration is different than just resting. Restoration means you're doing something that like fills you back up again. So it restores your good feelings on the inside. It restores your energy. It just makes you feel like you again. That's the best way I can describe it. And when you restore yourself, you are sharpening your axe. And you can lead your life in a stronger, better way. But here's the thing. What sharpens my axe and restores me might not work for you. God made us each differently, and he put in us things that restore us. But we have to be good students of ourselves and learn about what restores us. So here are a couple questions I want you to think about as you head into summer. Think about the people who restore you. Who do you love to spend time with? And you look forward to your times together. What are things that you like to do that restore you? It could be an activity like riding your bike. It could be a hobby. Perhaps you've learned how to knit or paint or target shoot, and you love doing that, and you feel whole after you've done it. So what are the things you like to do? Where are the places where you feel safe, welcome, and relaxed? For some people, that might be a really crowded, crazy, busy swimming pool. For me, one of the places is right here in the woods. That's a place where I feel safe, welcome, and relaxed. So where do you feel like that? Ask yourself this question. Do you enjoy places that are familiar and comfortable, or do you like new places and new adventures? Which one of those excites you the most? Or do you enjoy both of those things? If you are introverted, that means you like a lot of alone time. Lots of times people think you're quiet if you're introverted. Now, you might not believe this, but I believe I am an introvert. So I know I'm loud and crazy, but here's one of the ways to tell. When I need to recharge myself, I need to be alone and have quiet time. When I was a little girl, I loved to go into my room. I would actually go under my bed, and I had little dolls that I would play with, and I would play all by myself. And that would refresh me or restore me. Some people are restored when they are with a big group or when they are out on the playground. So are you an introvert? Do you get restored by being alone and quiet? Or are you, it's called an extrovert? Do you get recharged and rejuvenated by being with other people? And that's an important thing to know about yourself. Do you like to be creative? And if you do, are you being creative? A lot of times creative people will just kind of save that for later. I'll create something when I have time. But actually, if you're a creative person, you should be creating on a regular basis, because that's a way that you sharpen your axe, that you restore yourself. So do you like to be creative? And if you do, are you making time for it? This is one of my favorites. How many minutes do you spend outside in nature, running through the grass, riding your bike, hiking through the woods, playing on a playground? Do you ever wander, like wander through nature or through the hills? And as you wander, do you ever wonder about nature? It's proven that people who wander and wander outside have healthier brains. It's really good for your brain to be outside. So how much time do you spend outside? What is it that you can do that energizes you that's totally free? Because a lot of times as kids, you ask your parents to do something and it often costs money. But in the summer, be creative. What can you do that doesn't cost any money? Can you take some clotheslines or ropes or jump ropes outside and some lawn chairs and some blankets, and can you make forts? What can you do that is creative and free, that it makes you feel so excited about your life? And also maybe with your family, think about things that restore your family that might cost money, and it might take some time to travel someplace. But where does your family really love to be and come home thinking, wow, I feel better since we went to the lake, or since we went to that amusement park, or visited the zoo, or took a long hike at Pokagon at the state park. Think what you like to do with your family, because those are memories that will connect your family for a long time in the future. And here's the last question. When was the last time you asked yourself this kind of question, or have you ever asked yourself this kind of question? What restores you? Who do you like to be with when you feel restored? What do you like to create? How much time do you spend outside? What do you do with your family that builds you into a stronger family with good memories? So those are the questions I'd like you to ponder this summer. What will you do this summer to sharpen your saw? I love you guys. It has been so much fun doing chapels with you this year. I don't know if I'll see you next year for chapels, but if I don't, Godspeed. I love you all.